This video is intended to be an in-depth description of a lightblade wand named Insight. I will start with the primary blade banding, consisting like so. And first I'll describe how I'll be using my dilapidated crude chakra map for visual cue descriptions. And they'll be critical for reference points and stimulations throughout the entire construct to isolate each of the individual components that will of course generate a closed loop field, all pinging off each other in a closed loop circuit on the primary wire consisting of brass, copper, and silver spooled together to have the triangulation diffusion of the three directions of the metals, so with earth of copper and receptive intake of silver with the projective positive output of brass being the central primary wire, which creates a common ground for all these frequencies that will be mentioned in great detail to give reference that they're indeed running on a closed loop reactive circuit. Now I got that out of the way, I'll discuss the primary blade band. Starting off right here is a little bit of smoky quartz, actually 9 to be specific, to be a numerological new sequence engagement, starting into golden healer quartz, which is a very powerful gold white light Christ frequency engager of the higher heart in connection to spirit. So you think of that as being a very powerful Christ consciousness imbuement frequency that plays a critical role for the entire vibratory output of the primary blade band focus of the energy. And to have that subcapacitated with the lovely legendary amethyst. Amethyst is a very strong wind elemental stone that stimulates the 6th, 7th, 8th non-physical chakras back to the Godhead or the higher self-continuity contact patch. So the primary goal of this insightful blade band is to have a very strong concentration of 6th, 7th crown soul star activation with Christ frequencies igniting as the sequence runs like so back into the containment of a transmutation blade band ratio, which will be seen here underneath this purple leather, then around this main engine section continues into a figure 8 of the primary blade band. The transmutation blade band ratio consists of hematite. Hematite is a very lovely iron-based metal that pulls all excess stray energies through the root chakra, into the earth stars, and into the earth meridian matrix for reprocessing. And one of the most premier grounder of energy stones in the mineral kingdom, hence its utilization for a successful high vibratory platform to have tangibility in 3D, is of the essence and absolutely critical. To further augment that grounding capacity is the purification and grounding of smoky quartz in the engagement sequence seen here. Smoky quartz, of course, works just like hematite, where it actually makes a very strong grounding arc to produce a transmutative field generation to ground all excess energy through the root chakra into the earth stars, and once again, into the earth meridian matrix for reprocessing. So you can also think that as another aspect of etheric composting, and these two together can be equated to etheric Teflon. So this ignition sequence is very powerful for making a very reactive bypass ground circuit. That'll be very critical, like I mentioned previously, for getting the most out of this very complicated network of a vibratory broadcast system to get grounded tangibility and be a safe arc bypass to ground all this through the root into the earth stars, and most importantly into the earth meridian matrix reprocessing for two-way processing of being tapped into the Mother Earth plane. Of course, is very advantageous for high frequency energies to get a safe ground. So I feel like I've explained the criticality of the transmutation ratio pretty successfully. So underneath this section right here, we'll be running the wire of brass of the exact same ignition sequence for a projective positive masculine output energy stimulation, while this will be running on silver for the receptive feminine yin intake of the exact same frequency of the transmutation ratio. So that would be just the primary blade banding, closing the circuit, much like a figure 8, like so. That'd be the foundational bounding. So now I'm going to go ahead and launch straight into the main heart of the device, or the engine section this will be. So starting off with the main heart of the device is a lovely Lemurian clear quartz, which works as a lovely neutral program carrier. So of course, quartz is a natural amplifier of energy and also a very responsive aspect to the consciousness of intentions put into the blade. So hence the programmable heart of the device is the aspect right here where the prayers being wielded by the recipient of this device can, of course, resonate very deeply into that quartz, the main heart of it, and which runs through the entire circuitry of this closed-loop circuit. So that'd be just the main heart of the device. Then the secondary heart, if you would, that plays a rather important role for a successful spirit tool would be the lovely smoky celestial quartz. So obviously the frequency structure of the smoky quartz was described in the transmutation blade band ratio circulating this entire section. But the aspect that makes a celestial quartz very special is that a certain kind of formation actually resonates with the higher self template in a certain aspect of really being in a closed loop frequency auto-reactive dimmer switch, if you would. So you can think of this frequency being a strong higher self consciousness inducer through a grounded perspective, which is tremendously advantageous for true light work. And that aspect too plays a very, once again, critical role in this entire success of this vibratory output by being a dimmer switch auto-regulator. So you can think of this frequency being very auto-reactive to the requirements and sensual needs of the wielder of this device. So in that capacity, having the reactant of what is required for the situation the wielder finds themselves in is very auto-reactive. And what that means, of course, is if there's healing work being done or channeling, this frequency will, of course, rapidly pitch up the entire device output, vibratory output. But if you're in relaxation mode, meditation, and watching TV, for example, or doing mundane things that are not of high channeling requirement, so to speak, this, of course, will calm the pace down of the entire device. So this actually plays a very amazing vibratory auto-reactive pivotal role in this successful spirit tool. Alrighty. At the very apex of the engine section right here is the lovely star argonite. This is a calcium-based full light body activator that stimulates the entire chakra column as a whole. It's quite the master healer in the mineral kingdom, actually. Hence its utilization in a very obvious placement between the two center hearts of the device was, of course, by design to be a very powerful way to amplify the frequency of this full calcium-based light body activator. That brings a very soothing aspect to the entire stimulation of the auric field in every single chakra nodal point in between the earth stars, base, you name it. It runs a very powerful sequence of dismantling and clearing any kind of impediments between the full continuity of the soul star, earth star, enlightened contact patch, just as a background frequency. So as I get more into these components, please bear in mind that all these other frequencies, since they're on a closed loop reactive circuit, will actually be, of course, pinging off each other to create one vibratory harmonious goal that is the archetypal name of insight. So of course these guys will all play off each other as I describe everything further for full disclosure and reference. Then transitioning into lovely sunstone, a lovely stimulant to the sacrum and solar plexus, very solar, potassium, feldspar-based fire energy that's very grounded in the aspect of creativity and aspects of that nature, and just good old benevolent good vibes, quite simply. Then to back that up is the lovely tiger's eye. Tiger's eye takes the solar plexus, the sacrum, and the base chakra and makes a strong alignment, not just stimulation, but actually a strong alignment for balance and harmony of the lower three, which of course will be very helpful to be another contingency to be able to balance out this much excessive raw frequency high pitch energy, which is the violet ray with golden white light Christ frequency as the primary blade band, which is a very high vibration production yield. Then right here is shungite. Shungite is found here, over here, as well as over here, making a triangulation of that lovely carbon-based black ray stone that's quite in vogue in this timeline. Shungite is quite in vogue due to the fact of its notoriety to mitigate EMF 5G waves that can harm the subtle DNA of the auric field, and a very powerful carbon-based transmuter of negativity. Just like the concept of the transmutation blade band ratio, it's carbon-based, which of course makes very strong resonance with our carbon crystalline avatars, the physical body, and is a very powerful transmuter of any kind of negativity internally, externally, just like the transmutation ratio. So, of course, Even having these 3 doses in small right here on one reactive circuit goes a long way. And to further ground and purify this intensively high yield frequency broadband is a large bolt of black tourmaline found right here that's directly in alignment with the smoky celestial quartz to get the most grounding shoot out of that frequency. So black tourmaline or swirl is a very lovely purifier of negativity, just like the transmutation ratio as well, to purify all negativity by grounding it all through the root into the Earth stars, into the Earth meridian matrix for reprocessing, making another transmutation segue of extreme purification and grounding. So obviously grounding is quite the critical aspect for any kind of high vibratory sorcery endeavor, obviously, because tangibility and comfortability is one of the goals with all this far out jargon thus far. And right here is the lovely blue sapphire. Blue sapphire is a great stone, a precious stone, that is utilized by kings and queens of old to be a very powerful wind stimulant that stimulates the 5th and 6th in tandem in a very strong format. Hence it's a stone of royalty, of higher wisdom, and insight. So obviously, having a little bit of the insightful stone of blue sapphire was critical of honoring its entire archetypal name, which is designed to be an homage to the crystalline ignition order of the frequency's intention. The whole reason why the soul baby is born, basically, was to be a very insightful device to be in the custody of a prominent light wielder. And to be the perfect antithesis to the blue sapphire would also be a little bit of ruby found right here, but this ruby actually is mixed in zoisite. So ruby, of course, is the premier red ray enlightened base chakra energy, hence it's another stone of precious royalty. Very much zest for life energy. But the synergistic combination of having green zoisite in its structure with the ruby, try to get a better angle for demonstration. There you go. It's alright a bit to talk about. So, ruby, of course, like I mentioned, is a very strong base chakra stimulant. Then the combination of zoisite makes a very powerful heart-mind coherence. So when you have the aspect of the heart-mind coherence strongly engaged with the zest of the base chakra, that makes a very lovely, fantastic, miraculous, natural synergistic combination of true dynamic change to one's highest self blueprint with gusto. Then to further boost the entire algorithm of this entire device, I'm having a 5th attack on this subject. It's quite a bit to contain in linear format and keep it straight because it's pretty cosmic, a very high vibratory yield. Anyway, pardon my digression. This right here is black tektite. This is the product of a nickel iron meteorite impacting sand, which of course catches that extraterrestrial jolt into the earth plane, but thereby with the heat and pressure making actually a space obsidian, which is basically like hot glass formation, but from the stars, which has a very powerful black ray, full light body activation connotation from the Earth stars up, which makes a very nice Kundalini stimulant, as well as a general intensifier of the higher vibratory output from the ground up, which is a very nice touch right there. Could be considered a transmutation stone based on the black ray connotation as well, but it's a little more heady and cosmic to be a true transmutation stone as far as I'm concerned. Anyhow. Okay, so at the very end right here, on the other side of the aragonite, is the lovely purple labradorite, a stone of great magic, mystery, and intuition, and like I've mentioned many times in these description videos, it's a stone that's almost as discussing the vastness of the ocean. The mysteries and the potentiality of this frequency is quite expansive. But to keep it consolidated and condensed for description's sake, it's a very powerful stone for intuition, psychic insights, of course, and then the aspects of psychic protection and higher frequency wielding of impulses of vibration or magic. So it's very much a stone of magic and synchronicity in its own right. Okay, to keep things relatively linear, I'm going to discuss the critical aspect of the agate and jasper routine right here. Starting with Earth, we have the lovely red jasper, a lovely stabilizer of the root chakra. Then transitioning into fire agate, a stabilizer of the fire energy to stabilize the root, sacrum, and solar plexus. Then going into water with moss green agate to stabilize the heart chakra. Then going into blue lace agate down here to stabilize the fifth chakra. Then going into holly blue agate, which is actually technically a purple wind elemental agate. This would be wind, stimulating and mostly stabilizing the sixth and seventh. So an aspect too with this such a complex vibratory device is having the stability in the four directions to both stabilize and stimulate the earth, fire, water, wind, thereby the four elements, is a very critical aspect of a very successful high frequency device such as this Insight. So that, of course, will stabilize the elemental spectrums of the entire body while the rest of the frequency pitches run in tandem. Then, down here, is lovely underrated serpentine from my backyard. Serpentine is a lovely kundalini stimulant and a very common stone for here in California. It is a lovely light body activator in its own right for that purpose, and also it comes from the magical Mount Shasta. Fun fact. Then, to really intensify this entire engine section to a high threshold would be the incorporation of fulgurite. Fulgurite is actually petrified lightning. This is a result of lightning striking sand and catching the energy of lightning, literally caught in stone. So, that aspect gives the entire threshold of the device a very powerful light body activation, because just like lightning mimicked in the frequency, makes a very powerful full light body activation intensification. And it was utilized by First Nation shamans and medicine women to be a very strong intensification of one's prayers back to spirit. So it has classic shamanic magical connotations. Then, of course, when you wire wrap it to a closed loop circuit broadcast, gives a much broader intensification of the vibratory yield of a closed loop circuit. But hence, that's why there's many contingencies discussed when these high frequency stones are come in play with the autoregulator and the stabilizers and the whole transmutation blade band ratio to get the most out of this without being too much. And also, of course, with those aspects with the stabilization and transmutation is also to mitigate growing pains as much as possible as one's karmic template comes into view and the dissolution of the old divisory false self patterns falls to the wayside and molts like skin being shed as one's true dharmic template is manifested. So, of course, with the prerogative with all this is to make it as comfortable as possible and to transmute and mitigate the growing pains as much as possible. That's where these guys really shine. Okay. So I'll get straight into the primary thumb engagement, which is found right here, designed to actually engage like so. So, this thumb engagement, the foundation of this would be the lovely Libyan gold tektite. Libyan gold tektite is a very mighty stone of ancient Egypt, was utilized by the Pharaoh caste, or the God King, God Queen Magi caste, if you would, was a very powerful stimulant to the sacrum and solar plexus, and a very powerful fire energy, manifestation, psychic protection, intensification, and also what I consider a dharmic accelerant to put one's true divine will in the forefront of the conscious self. So it's a very mighty, relatively criminally underrated stone. It's kind of like Moldavite's gold ray cousin, which I'll get into momentarily. So, very, very powerful stone of the inner king, inner queen archetype, as well as super accelerate the entirety of one's true dharmic holy grail configuration manifest in 3D intangibility. This is a very, very, very mighty stone. As a matter of fact, one of my top 5 favorite stones based on its resonance. It's also a very joyful, sunny disposition frequency that has a way of chasing away the blues. Hence, I even wear it on my middle finger on a nearly daily basis for that purpose. Then right here is a lovely little clear quartz to be the main sub-engine of this entire power pack, which of course was a separate structure actually grounded into this entire device. So that works as a neutral accelerant, as well as it being a very consciousness-assisted reactive component for the primary thumb, where of course that is designed to have the intention be directly terminated into the structure as it runs through its other clear, neutral, programmable components. Therefore, unified amplification of one's intention and prayers can be easily uploaded into the operating system and run through the current. And another aspect too of clear quartz being a neutral amplifier is of course wire wrapping the legendary, infamous moldavite to that quartz inside this power pack. So moldavite is a really relatively well-known stone at this point due to its notoriety for being a very powerful agent of change to one's highest path that can be considered sometimes chaotic and volatile depending on the configuration realignment requirements to one's higher self blueprint. So it's a stone, of course, that most people are not usually vibratory sensitive can feel, hence it makes actually a very great party favor, and is a stone of great legend and the green ray high heart source storm energy connector. One of the premier dharmic accelerants, if you would, I'd say, was this guy. So naturally with these two in tandem, it makes a very lovely synergistic combination to really expedite that whole process of one's truest dharmic template manifested to, of course, manifest physically. That's the whole point. Everything happens energetically first. So the big idea of that is to put one in alignment with their highest holy grail configuration connection to source and to have that manifest in 3D, intangibility. These guys are great for that job. And to further honor the archetypal aspect of insight, the power pack formed around this thumb engagement consists of lapis lazuli, which is a lovely blue ray wind elemental stone of ancient Egypt that stimulates the 5th and 6th chakras, and rutilated quartz to make an acceleration of this closed loop circuit to intensify that broadband into bluish white hemimorphite. Hemimorphite I find to be a criminally underrated stone mineral kingdom for high tier metaphysical practitioner use. It's an amazing stone that has a very strong light body stimulation, auric balancing. It's kind of one of those miracle rocks that I feel is not really distributed nearly enough for practitioners. And one of the aspects too is that blue hemimorphite is a very impeccable 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th chakra, higher chakra stimulant, stabilizer, and most importantly, a very powerful heart-mind coherence agent. So with that capacity of the unobstructed higher chakras is also excellent for mediumship to mitigate electromagnetic interference that would interfere with one's truest, highest soul star connection to their capacity of channeling and having insights. So obviously lapis and hemimorphite of that nature makes a very powerful, insightful closed loop frequency like so. Great for channeling mediumship and diagnosis of energetic deficiencies at the base level, and most importantly, the wisdom and knowledge to amend the base deficiencies energetically to manifest physical health. That would be the thumb engagement. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Tibetan black quartz that has been triangulated. Underneath this selenite back here, you can't see it because it's buried at this point, but there is a Tibetan black quartz down here. There's a Tibetan black quartz down here, and then at the very apex of the tip of the blade is a Tibetan black quartz once again. The triangulation of these frequencies is actually a very useful synergistic combination to have a very powerful high frequency purification based on the Om template. Naturally, being from Tibet, thousands and thousands of years of high spiritual work has gone into one area with nearly unbroken lineage tradition of high frequency dharmic grounding in high enlightenment states into that one part of the planet. So these guys being from that area have been obviously well imbued with that frequency, so you can almost grab these guys loose and kind of get that strong sensation of the Om frequency that has a very powerful purification nature. So it's a clear quartz with what is guessed to be a carbon inclusions inside, yet modern science has yet to quite deduce exactly what the black in the stone is, which is kind of cool. That's a little bit of a mystery. but is one of my definitely top 10 favorite stones utilized in metaphysical tools for its extreme purification of the entire chakra column, as well as being a very powerful, another variant of a Ohm source frequency purifier, which stimulates the entire chakra column from the soul star, everything in between, to the earth star. So it basically provides rapid grounding while also a dramatic expansion simultaneously. So using these guys at the critical junctions behind the selenite takes that frequency, runs it right through here before it disperses into these guys up here, then gets recirculated into the light blade. So that, of course, has that perpetual energy of that dramatic purification of energy. So that'd be the Tibetan Black Quartz, an amazing psychic protection, Ohm frequency energy. It's also very amazing for running full frequency patterns. Actually, to be more, I guess, explicit on the subject, it's another master healer in the mineral kingdom, to be a very powerful full light body tonic to basically dismantle rapidly any aspects impeding a fully functional healthy light body top to bottom. Just like the star aragonite, of course, they work great in tandem, which will eventually go into the seraphinite being part of the trio of these master healers that all, of course, work synergistically together, which will be described in great detail. Actually, I might as well get into it right now. Seraphinite is an amazing, amazing stone. Another one of my top 10 favorites to use, maybe even top 5 for metaphysical purposes and tools, is the aspect of the green ray seraphic frequency, named after the seraphim archangels. It obviously has a strong green ray heart chakra activation connotation based on its basic color therapy resonance. But the best part about this frequency is that it actually makes a full light body stimulant that dramatically removes and dismantles any patterns of dis-ease or disharmony that would be compromising the light body function from top to bottom, to remove those patterns to have an optimal energy configuration, aka a very healthy energy, a very healthy body. So, just like I mentioned with Tibetan Black Quartz and the star aragonite, it makes a very powerful full light body stimulation. So it stimulates the entire chakra column in unison and works in that trifecta to dismantle any impediments to the light body's fully functional, optimized configuration. I'm just laughing at my throat, because this is just, obviously, this is quite the advanced platform to discuss in a linear manner. Like, I've digressed a few times now in this video, and just kind of, I have to laugh at myself at times. Okay, then going into the lovely white ray stone of divinity, scolecite. Scolecite is an amazing window-mental 6th and 7th, 8th non-physical chakra stimulant, yet it's a very gentle version of that kind of same pathway opening to the higher chakras. That brings a very powerful inner peace aspect to the entire auric field. And it's a very soothing frequency and a more like pragmatic aspect. It's a very fantastic neural pathway, neurochemistry balancer of serotonin and things of that nature as well as being a very lovely, soothing to the mind frequency, which is very, of course, advantageous and useful in such a complicated high-frequency device. Then, this is something I'm rather excited about, is the incorporation of 2 rose quartz pyramids on the opposite side of the central core to be a pink ray focused sharpened radius, just like a pyramid, to take the energy of the love of rose quartz and put it through a focus laterally when engaged. So for example, you could think of that aspect being another focus of the energy on both sides of the pink ray. So of course, when being wielded and being in use, you can consider this being also another focal point of the energy to have a sharp love focus, which is a great thing to have in a condensed apex, coursing through the energy, running it right through the tip to make a sharp pink ray love energy broadcast. Okay, so that'd be these 3 main components of the blade face itself. Here we go. At the very tip of these selenites also is the lovely purple ray stone named chaurite. Chaurite is another amazing window metal stone and is a violet ray dharmic stimulant in its own right. It's a very powerful stone for stimulating obviously the 6th, 7th, and 8th non-physical higher chakras, but also makes a very powerful purification agent with different inclusions of calcite and dendrites to make a very strong grounding of this wind energy through the entire chakra column. So actually these guys do indeed stimulate the earth stars from a purple ray wind perspective to ground it further. Hence, it's also another stone of dharmic synchronicity, just like moldavite and all the other frequencies mentioned previously, is another aspect to really expedite and accelerate the full dharmic template manifestation. That's why they're mounted right here at the very tip of the selenite to have that focused energy, kind of like optic fibers, where they're kind of, you can see it's straight right here. So it focuses the energy like so, goes into these guys, then gets redirected into the primary blade band. Okie dokie. So right here, these would be the focalizer crystals. These right here are actually a man-made but amazing metaphysical utilized frequency is titanium aura quartz, which is actually clear quartz, pressure coated in a vacuum with titanium. So that's a very powerful full light body, rainbow light body inducer, hitting all the 7 rays very intensely, also producing great physical strength and great physical stamina to have a very high frequency insulation of very strengthened frequency of titanium. Hence is named after the Titans. So a very amazing frequency to be particularly used as a focalizer to make the current of the entire energy have a strengthened focus, which goes right into the neutral programmable clear quartz. So those guys will be basically the focalizers, which will take the excess rail energy and give it a direction focus ground, kind of like so with my tree buddy out there. So where you point, of course, point those guys is where the excess focus with intention grounds right through. It makes a very successful vibratory broadcast yield. Okay. So one of the aspects I do save for last intentionally is the utilization of selenite. Selenite by itself is an amazing 6th, 7th, 8th, full higher chakra, gateway to the higher self clear to the Godhead or higher self template configuration, and grounded to the conscious self, as well as purifies any negativity that be impeding the auric field. That by itself makes this stone quite fantastic and lovely. But an aspect too of why this stone is utilized in, I'd say, 99% of any light tech that passes through my hands into distribution is for a very critical purpose. It takes all the aforementioned stones I've been talking about for the last 33 minutes or so. It takes the entire algorithm, the frequency, vibration, it purifies them, it harmonizes them, then it amplifies them. So when you take the trifecta of purification, harmonization, then amplification, that makes for a very tremendously powerful spirit tool in the most pristine format, harmonized, accelerated as possible. Hence, their placement is quite critical in this conjunction for a very successful spirit tool. And the aspect too of why the 4 spectrums of kyanite available to me are wire wrapped to the selenite is to get the transferability of this frequency to a max apex, like so. So, black kyanite makes a very rapid grounding of all this excess energy we've been discussing thus far into the Earth Meridian Matrix reprocessing. Orange kyanite makes a very powerful stimulation to the sacrum to its highest configuration of creativity in connection to their higher self matrix. Green kyanite makes very rapid transfer energy through the heart chakra to the highest oscillations of connection to creation. Blue kyanite is a very powerful neural pathway recalibrated to the highest self configuration. That's an aspect of a more of a personal passive aspect, but where kyanites really shine as well is aspects of diplomacy. So for example, you could think of 2 different parties of here is a wielder the device, like so, and here is a person of their jurisdiction. Let's just say they're not quite resonating quite right and not quite seeing eye to eye. Actually, this is also very good for conflict resolution as well. Is the aspect of rapidly bridging energy between the 2 parties is the whole purpose of kyanites as well. So we can think of that being another aspect of etheric Teflon, where the energy runs so quickly through the system from top to bottom that it has a very reactive autodynamic regulation buffer that grounds all the excess energy into the earth, So, and through the ones they serve, and to spirits so quickly that basically, in theory, at least what I've seen so far, is that it makes a very powerful high resonant frequency shield that's very reactive and auto-calibrates to be in an optimum configuration. And what that means on a daily level is basically consistent good vibes. And so, that also plays a huge role in the transferability of the energy too. For example, say the practitioner who's commissioned this device is saying a prayer for somebody, and all these other frequencies discussed so far gives it a transferability of beneficence through divinity for a broadcast. That is actually the big aspect where kinetics are very successful and useful in any kind of vibratory induction or just good old-fashioned plain old using magic. All right, I believe that would be the conclusion of the crystalline order in only 35 minutes. So, with all this going on, the central core of the device is actually cedar wood from my backyard, which of course is in Mount Shasta, California. Very special, magical place. Then the subcore, there's a second piece of wood seen right here that is actually attached to the primary core that actually is what's holding the engine together. That is oak, also from my backyard. I had wood from Sedona, but unfortunately it was too fragile to be justified to be used in a device I'll be seeing a lot of action and seeing a lot of travel, so I wanted to be safer than sorry, use a very strong wood of oak to make a very strong grounding point. So cedar, of course, has a very strong magical connotation, utilization in the history of magic of Solomon the Wise, the great wizard who is son of King David, who made his temple out of cedar wood. Oak, of course, has a very strong legendary connotation of being the wood of gods and heroes, and being a very strong, intense atomical wood, also is a very strengthening wood. So with magic and strength is kind of the combination of this carbon-based resonance, which is a sacred one-legged that has now been utilized in the core of a very complex device liturgy. All right. That would be that right there. Okay. So once this is all concluded and well notarized in this video, I will be installing this white leather hood like so, which will serve as a subtle insulation of all this energy of the main engine, also a protector to all these stones placed like so they can endure many a travel, many a practitioning. But probably most importantly, it's also a color therapy filter of taking the white ray, the 7 rays diffuse through this main crystalline heart, gives a very nice stimulation to the 7 rays in tandem through the resonance of the color therapy energy of white. And to be a badging of great prominence on top of the white leather once installed will be this lovely Om symbol with the flower life embedded upon it, which actually is quite fantastic to have a certain kind of frequency badging. And you can see these stray wires actually will be grounded into the primary wire and into the circuitry, so this will become a functional power pack that is consisting of rose quartz, just like the pyramid mentioned, a lovely stone of divine love, and thank goodness a very common mineral on this planet, then into kunzite. Kunzite is another pink ray stone divinity, but it's a lithium-based stone, which makes a very soothing frequency through the entire nervous system. Hence, the utilization of lithium in any kind of antipsychotic modalities is highly utilized because it just straight up works. And so having that frequency of lithium also brings a very intensive, soothing, loving pink ray, high heart calming activation, which would be very advantageous for the balancing out of such a high vibratory yield device that is Project Insight. So that would be an idea of what it will look like once completed and fully optimized to be its own individual power pack of great prominence and power of divine love, receptivity, connectivity. Okay. So in conclusion, Insight is a relatively high vibratory, high revving yield, purple, gold, quite light Christ frequency emanation blade band of great power and and it's very, very intensive actually. Hence the during this process of this video, it was quite taxing to just kind of calm down and not be too excited about this, because I'm actually rather enthused with this vibratory production and how it's going to be served into the service of creation by the wielder of this device. So I'm rather excited about this. When I get excited about many constructs, I ramble, but this one's made me ramble quite a bit more than usual, because the implications are pretty vast. And I'm really excited about it, and I should probably stop talking about these things of that nature, because I'm going to get back to it. But in conclusion, Insight is a very, very mighty, relatively small size blade to be able to travel with relative ease. It's not that big of a device, but it definitely packs a serious vibratory punch of great divinity and great potency. And it, of course, makes a very strong higher frequency yield pitch as a whole, while doing its best to keep it grounded and stabilized to make the tangibility of this high yield violet flamethrower into reality for the service of all those under the jurisdiction of this wielder. Well, 1,000 blessings, and I pray that everybody has a wonderful day. Aho.